Hey everyone, welcome back to the podcast, Digitally Transformed. I'm your host, Melissa. Let's get into it. So today we're talking about responsibilities of the tech industry. With so many changing societal habits and rapid advances in technology, governments usually are the ones to lag behind in creating structures that keep runaway possibilities in check. So these are issues from data privacy to disinformation, all the way to artificial intelligence, which have become areas of concern where regulation would ideally keep technology ethical. However, since there's such a gap between technology's growth and government action, our question to you is it the tech industry's responsibility to step in and take the lead? Our stance is absolutely. As we moved into 2020 and the new decade, not even knowing that some of the most massive life changes were around the corner, Microsoft executives Brad Smith and Carol Ann Brown wrote about what they saw as the most pressing tech issues that this era would face. Following that line of thought, we're going to dive into a few of those ongoing issues and how the tech industry can play a massive role in shaping good outcomes around them. So first, we're going to talk about privacy as an issue. So much of our technological journey has been a drawn-out exchange of convenience for privacy, let's be honest. And one of the obvious places that this plays out is in home assistant devices. These are those devices that can record, store, and even share what you say in your own private space. And another aspect of privacy, which really has received the most regulatory attention, is internet data collection and usage. There are a lot of countries that have instated privacy laws to protect consumers and give them more control over how their data is being used. However, in the US, we have yet to address this federally, but California Consumer Privacy Act did go into effect last year, and that was a great start. Smith and Brown said that they envisioned a new wave of privacy protections on the horizon, and these would go beyond giving consumers more management of their data and into more encompassing rules about how data can be used in general. So as we wait for governments to make these rules, we say it is up to the tech world and organizations to support and uphold consumer privacy and to view positive, trustworthy customer relationships as more important than any marketing or profit benefits that would come with a sleazy practice. The next issue we want to talk about is artificial intelligence ethics. In AI ethics, policy on artificial intelligence should take several different forms: legal regulation, ethical codes, education, and measures within the tech industry. But Smith and Brown agree that this must be addressed broadly, and technology providers are responsible for doing their part. A few years ago, Microsoft stated their own 6 principles of ethical AI design. Here at Infused Innovations, we've also adopted those 6 AI ethical principles, and I'm going to tell you what they are. So the first one is fairness. This is that all AI systems should treat people fairly. The next one is inclusiveness, meaning that AI systems should empower everyone and engage everyone. The next one is reliability and safety, the idea that all AI systems should perform reliably and safely. The next is transparency, that AI systems should be understandable. The next is privacy and security, that AI systems should be secure as well as respect human privacy. And the next and last is accountability, is that people and organizations should be accountable for artificial intelligence systems. With all of this being said, the European Union also has their own list of 7 requirements of trustworthy AI. And these kinds of principles are essential, but we do also need to see them mature into concrete operational actions too. So for example, this could play out in a case where there are engineering requirements like training, monitoring, and compliance. Since AI is a massive field, it would be helpful to focus in on specific issues one at a time. Things like algorithms, for example, or lethal autonomous weapons. Artificial intelligence ethics work needs to scale from the specific measures to a unified global effort. All right, the third issue is supporting democracy. Every single year, the Economist Intelligence Unit measures the state of global democracies in its Democracy Index. And already in the previous decade, the index showed the health of the world's democracies declining. In 2022, the global average score went lower than it had ever been since the index began in 2006. And the events surrounding the latest US election and inauguration, as well as following new voting legislation, have only made it more clear that our democracy is very much in a fragile place. Part of the tech industry's role here is cybersecurity, and that means protecting our digital spaces from hacks that can endanger democracy. Another aspect is really ensuring secure voting and election processes. And again, another is combating election-related disinformation campaigns, because we all know that they happen all the time. The next responsibility of the tech industry is information and journalism. Smith and Brown also remind us that healthy democracy requires healthy journalism, and the state of journalism is not looking so good right now. The internet, with its search algorithms and social media, has undermined newspapers and reliable, accurate news, which really have to compete with these daily false claims and stories that boast on a higher shock and or share factor. Something clearly needs to be done to combat the erosion of reliable information. And we'd say one start is something like Project Origin, which is a coalition to detect and label manipulated media with the aim of building an international standard for authenticity. Another massive responsibility for the tech industry is climate change. The damage of climate change is one of humanity's most pressing issues, and improvements in sustainability urgently need to be made wherever possible. Data centers that support the cloud are actually one of the world's biggest energy consumers, believe it or not. So it's up to us companies that run those centers to invest in sustainable options like renewable energy and more efficient technology. Indirect Scope 3 carbon emissions are also a part of the problem. While every sector contributes to this, we thoroughly believe that the tech industry has capabilities for some leadership here and really holds a great responsibility. This could mean things like looking at supply chains and production and finding innovative ways to reduce less visible emissions and increase sustainability around them. With growing capabilities in AI, we know that innovators can and should find ways to use AI for environmental improvement, not the opposite. Ultimately, we know that a responsible tech industry is going to build a better world. And again, to cite Smith and Brown, they argue that those who create and support technology that changes the world also bear a responsibility to help address the world that they've created. With every innovative advancement comes that possibility for abuse or unintended offshoots, and governments need to come together with this potential in check. And in the meantime, and along that effort, the tech industry has a massive role to play in shaping technology toward ethical and beneficial outcomes. After all, making the world a better place is truly what innovation is all about, right? Thanks for joining me on the podcast today. See you next week.